Hello, welcome to Living Arts. I'm your host, Jackie Suarez. I want to thank you for tuning in. Tonight we're going to be speaking to Howard Meyer from the Howard Meyer Acting Program, and we're just going to be focusing on acting, in general. So we would like to welcome you to the show. Welcome, and thank you for coming down on this snowy night.
So nice to be here. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I wanted to talk about a couple of different things about, the program that you have that's out in Pleasantville and the Axial Theatre. But tell our audience about yourself. I know that you're a playwright and an actor, so just give us some background and give us some information about yourself.
Yeah, no problem. I'm not one of those typical stories of like a child prodigy. I was not one of those people. In grade school it's mainly musicals, and they asked me to sing, and within 5 seconds they just stuck me in the back. Mm-hmm. So acting really wasn't something that I was even that involved in when I was a young person. Mm-hmm. So it was really when I was in my early 20s and not totally satisfied in working in the business world that I started searching for something else. Mm-hmm. And that's when I really kind of stumbled upon acting at HB Studios, as we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. And it was very clear to me, like within the very first few months of doing it, that this was something that I wanted to do. And which of course was a great shock to a lot of people in my life, my family at the time, but also to me, because as I said, it wasn't something that I was like growing up doing. And like what I've sort of told to people in my classes who ask me about this, the thing that was most attractive to me about acting right from the get-go was that what they valued the most highly in those acting classes was honesty and truth. Mm-hmm. And the more honest you could be, and the more truthful you can be, the more praise you would get. Mm-hmm. And it was just something that I'd never really been exposed to before, and felt like, wow, like it just resonated with me very, very clearly. Like this is something I want to be pursuing more, and this is something that really I want to be devoting my life to telling the truth.
Okay.
And that's actually what acting is about, ironically, more than people maybe think it's kind of making things up or pretending to be something else. But in my experience of like many years of doing this, you're actually getting more and more in touch with who you are. And like getting in touch with who you are is actually how you then get into these characters.
Okay.
So I started as an actor in my 20s, the minute I discovered it, I became so passionate about it, and I couldn't get enough. And within a matter of years, after training very hard in New York City, all through my 20s, I got an agent. Mm-hmm. I was now auditioning for parts in New York. And then I got an opportunity to direct. And that was really where I made my big inroads into the profession as a director.
Oh, okay.
I was taken under the wing of a master, kind of world-renowned playwright named Axial Theatre from South Africa. Not a household name, but very much a household name in the profession. Mm-hmm. And he was one that gave me my first opportunities to help to kind of assist him. Mm-hmm. And then the doors started flying open, and that's kind of when and how I started moving into the profession.
So this is mostly with theater?
With theater.
Okay.
With theater. And then not too long thereafter, I moved up here into this vicinity. And I was, as I said, I was starting to work as a director and working in certain New York theaters, and then also regionally. And we would, as I mentioned before also, like when you're in the profession, you're always looking for other ways to also make money and to sort of do your life.
Yes. And
that's sort of part of the artistic thing. Mm-hmm. And so I had been teaching acting classes in New York a little bit, and I saw like a theater nearby where we lived in the northeastern part of Westchester called the Schoolhouse Theater. Mm-hmm. And I went in there and I said, if I advertise, could I rent a couple of rooms from you? And they said, sure. And that's how Howard Meyer's Acting Program was born in 1994.
Okay.
And 4 adult students, 17 students, and today we're teaching anywhere from 100 to 125 students a year.
Wow. So at that point that you started, right now you still have a lot of things going on as far as being a playwright. Yeah. And speak a little bit about what you're doing professionally in acting.
Sure. Again, like I still act, and I still consider myself an actor. Mm-hmm. But really my professional opportunities and my professional evolution has moved into directing and playwriting. And these were all by virtue of opportunities and people that I met who started mentoring me and helping me become more proficient in these things, and just opportunities.
Right.
And I think that this is probably a good place to mention the Axial Theatre.
Right.
Because Axial Theatre was an offshoot of the acting program, and it was actually an opportunity for the people who were coming through that program and myself and other people that I'd worked with in New York City to sort of start developing plays and then start presenting plays. So in the context of Axial Theatre, I not only was doing some acting, but I was also directing, and then some of my early plays got produced. So it was really kind of
a nice outlet for you.
It was a laboratory for myself, talented and deserving students, and people that I had met in the profession who I had directed in New York City. And that's sort of how it evolved and began. And so today, Axial has become a place where we're producing 3 main stage shows a year. And hiring people from New York, but also providing a lot of opportunities for Westchester-based actors, directors, and playwrights.
So is this kind of a union gig or a non-union?
It's both.
It's both, okay.
We haven't become like an equity theater, but we enter into contracts with the union, so we can hire both non-union people and union people, and that works really great because a lot of the people that are coming out of the acting program aren't union right away. So we can hire those people. And when I say hire, I really mean that. We pay everybody that acts for us. It's a kind of a paid gig when you're working for Axial Theatre.
Because a lot of community theater is volunteer, or certainly people aren't going to be paid.
Yeah, it's been important for us, particularly myself and the people that teach in the acting program and are like the foundational members of the Axial Theatre. We're all professionals. We all work and get paid for what we do. As I mentioned, there's a reading of a play of mine that's going to be taking place in LA tomorrow. And I'm actually they're going to be Skyping me in. It's just some new strange technology thing. I've never been Skyped into a rehearsal of one of my plays before.
So you're going to be seeing the rehearsal taking place?
Correct.
Oh, that's terrific.
I'm going to be on Skype while they're rehearsing. And
have you ever done this before?
No. I've never been Skyped into a rehearsal before, so it's exciting, but it's kind of new.
Yeah, sure.
It's a new thing. But the point is that when I sort of set out to do this in my life in my middle 20s, my goal was to be professional at it, and so the theater that I started with a bunch of other people, it's a professional theater. So community theater is wonderful, and it's a wonderful way for people to be able to work and do plays, but very important for us to be a professional theater, which is why we pay our people.
I can understand that, and that's actually terrific. I just wanted to go back to the Howard Meyer Acting Program.
Sure.
Now, so you get this program started. What are the classes that you're offering, or what can someone expect? Like, let's say they just decided that maybe they wanted to get into acting. That's actually a very valid question. I was speaking to someone, and I was like, what does a person do at this stage in their lives, or younger at any stage? How do you approach becoming an actor if you hadn't gone to a fine arts university, or you didn't study it in college? And what do you do?
Look, the good news about acting, unlike other artistic forms, right? I mean, it'd be pretty hard to start a dancing career, for instance, a ballet career, right? When you're later in life,
right?
Right. But with acting, there is no age limitation. There are people who are acting. I had a very dear friend who just passed away at 99, who was on the Jon Stewart show when he was 97 years old. So it's something where age, it's non-specific in terms of age.
Okay.
So even though, of course, yes, starting young, getting into some conservatory programs, whatever, does create a competitive advantage on some level, many people start later in life. And what you want to do is you want to start with a good acting class. And so we've provided an opportunity for people at any level. If you've never done this before, or if you've done it before and you're coming back to it after letting it go for a variety of reasons, we have a beginner, intermediate, advanced, and master class level of training. So 4 adult levels, and we also then have classes for young teens and older teens.
So what's the beginner class like? Or what's it called, at least?
Yeah, it's basic technique.
Okay.
Basic technique. And really, acting is about when you're first starting acting, the hope is that we can start helping you access your imagination, because acting is all about imagination. Sanford Meisner, one of these great teachers that we were talking about before, he coined a phrase that acting is learning how to be truthful in imaginary circumstances. So that word truth that I talked about before that really hooked me.
Right.
So it's both truth and imagination. It's how do you simulate a circumstance so that when the person's watching you do it, it looks like it's real.
Sure.
You know, or watching television, or watching theater, or watching film, we get hooked because it looks like it's real.
So people, kind of getting people to be in touch with their emotions.
With themselves,
And in touch with painful
Correct.
memories or bad experiences.
Well-
Does that help a person become a better actor?
I think, it's rather than it just being about painful or sad, it's really about
All
being,
your emotions.
about everything. It's about being in touch with who you are. Because, acting is not about crying. People think, oh, I've got to learn how to cry to be a good actor. Acting is about learning how to step into whatever situation you're asked to act. It's about sort of really understanding like all the colors of being human.
Right. And genuinely wanting to cry in that situation.
If
because,
that's- if-
that's what the scene calls for.
But I would, you're really harping on this crying thing, Jackie. I would say that in a situation that might be sad, a lot of things might happen to you emotionally. You might cry, you might laugh, you might get angry, you might get afraid. It's more about honestly simulating being in that type of circumstance than like actually trying to like do an emotion.
Right.
You know what
yeah.
I mean? And that's really what it's about. It's like, how do you kind of draw on something from your life which is comparable to what that character is in? I use the word empathy a lot. Empathizing, right? Empathizing is like knowing what somebody's going through.
So I guess for someone, would this be much more of a cerebral experience, imagining yourself in various situations, rather than, like you said, drawing on one's own experiences, because your experiences will be fairly limited?
I think it's more visceral and emotional. It's definitely emotional. You're definitely wanting to access. Believe it or not, we've had a lot of experiences in our life, a lot, and it's not that we're gonna like do our life on stage, but for instance, if a character has experienced loss, many of us have experienced loss. Many of us have experienced fear. Many of us have experienced joy, excitement, anticipation, getting good news, getting bad. In other words, we have had a lot more experiences in our life than maybe we give ourselves credit for. And empathy is just about going, oh, I know what it feels like to get a letter that says that I just got hired for a great job, or consequently, that something bad has happened. So it's about helping people connect to their own life experiences insofar as they can then relate to that character's experiences.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So then now after starting the program, the acting program, the Axial Theatre happened a couple of years later.
About 5.
To have a space and a place for you to go ahead and have these plays put on and maybe give some of your students an opportunity to perform.
Yeah, it was all of the above. It was, when I came up to start these classes in the early 90s, 90% of my professional artistic life was happening in New York City and regionally. And again, I live not too far from this theater, and I thought, let me start a couple of classes. It'll be a good way to sort of generate some more revenue, help some people. And I never imagined that there would be the number of people that wanted this in this area. Being so close to New York City, I feel like New York City is the mecca of acting classes. But as it turns out, people wanted the convenience of having it here, not having to pay all that money that those New York City acting classes require, all the commuting, the parking, the time. And it just was amazing to me how people would come. So my life started moving up here more and more as there were more people that wanted training, and that started to grow. I thought, well, why don't I try to establish a place where I can do my own art, and the people that I'm training who are really gifted and talented can also do theirs. So it was a way to kind of combine everybody's needs. And that's how Axial Theatre grew. It grew out of my desire to do my own art, but also to remain in Westchester so I could also serve the community.
And for those that don't know, they are both in Pleasantville.
Pleasantville.
Your
right.
classes are in Pleasantville, or the acting program and the theater
And
is
the
in
theater's in
Pleasantville.
Pleasantville.
Now, where in
Correct.
Pleasantville is that?
We're located on the campus of St. John's Episcopal Church, which is on Bedford Road. It's actually 8 Sunnyside Avenue, but we're right on the corner of Bedford Road, right across from the Girl Scouts.
Exactly
It's a
where that
beautiful
is, yeah.
old stone church, and there's a really incredibly beautiful like atrium, it's basically like wood hall essentially, and we've been there for a decade. We've been there for 10 years.
So the theater is in there as well. Okay.
We take the hall and we turn it into a theater. Every single time we do a show, we do something different with the space. So when you walk in as an audience member, you're not quite sure how it's going to how the space is going to play.
How many people can you seat?
About 70.
70? That's pretty big.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, and again, remember, well, I didn't say this, but we're pretty much doing intimate dramas and comedies. So we're not doing big, bold musicals. We're doing some revivals. We're doing a lot of brand new plays. So it requires. We like playing in a more intimate space.
Smaller, like it's just an intimate experience.
And I think it's very exciting for the audiences too to be very close to the action.
Oh, of course, of course. Now, you'd mentioned collaborating with Sol Miranda from Embark.
Yes.
Who's definitely a friend to the show, one of my friends. Why don't you tell us what you guys have planned?
So Sol and I have known each other for many, many years, and yet we were joking that we never actually got together and talked. But that conversation finally happened last fall, and we decided that we wanted to try to do something together. And so in May, I'm going to offer an acting class for Peekskill residents, but we're also going to bring over a couple of one-acts from a program that's going up in the middle of February, which is on our website, called Twisted Valentines. And Twisted Valentines emerged as this interesting way for us to involve a lot of our member writers and actors. It was like, let's create an evening of non-Hallmark alternative Valentine's Day stories.
Small stories, vignettes,
right,
I think,
vignettes,
right?
like 6 different vignettes.
Okay.
And so that's what will be coming up, and people can check out the Axial website to get all the details. It'll be the 2 weekends right around Valentine's Day.
Okay.
But we're going to take 2, we haven't decided which ones yet, but we're going to take 2 of those vignettes and bring them to Peekskill and do them under the auspices of Embark. So it'll be, in the month of May, there'll be these performances probably over the course of a weekend of these plays that are going to be premiered in February in Pleasantville, plus launching probably a 6-week acting class that I will teach.
In May.
In the month of May, correct.
6 weeks. That's terrific.
And that'll be when all that gets set, it'll be up on both websites, both the Axial website and the HM Acting website.
So what do you have coming up with, because we didn't really get into too specifically what types of classes you're offering over at the HM Acting Program?
Well, there'll be in mid-February, on the 14th of February, there'll be a 6-week session. We do 6 and 12-week sessions, and that'll be an opportunity for anybody that's never had an opportunity, that's always wanted to act, but it never took that first step. That'll be an opportunity for those people to get involved. It's a beginner class. My teacher, whose name is Rachel Jones, who teaches that beginner class, is one of the most knowledgeable and yet nurturing people that I felt has ever taught a beginner class. And that's really the combination that works, because look, understandably, when people take that initial step, there's a lot of trepidation. Right. Fear, what is this? Standing in front of people, just that alone can make people terrified. Rachel is so nurturing and so kind. That's why she's been teaching the beginner class for our program for 15 years. So people love her.
They're doing a little bit of improv there, or are you encouraging people to memorize a monologue?
Yeah.
Is that in that program?
Or
that
memorize
class?
a monologue, do some exercises with another individual around text for like a scene from a play. Some group exercises where people are led through like an imaginary exercises together. Rachel usually uses music. It's also we're helping you. There's a little bit of memory work. So it's all about getting you in touch with your memory, getting in touch with you in touch with your imagination, working alone on text, working with another person on text, really taking those initial steps. And I'm telling you, there are people. There's somebody who's in my master class right now, who's also one of our premier actors in the Axial Theatre. we were just talking the other day. He started in that beginner class 10 years ago.
Wow.
So he started in the same way that I'm describing, that any person can start on that February 14th class. And he got so excited about it, so enthused by it, that it's become, he's still a teacher in the Mamaroneck school system, but it's become one of the central aspects of his life, because it's just opened up his life in exciting ways. I wish he was here to talk about it.
Well, no, definitely. That sounds like something that you can definitely, kind of get into. What do you advise someone to do if they want to go ahead and just kind of throw themselves out there as far as auditioning?
Well, I think, I think
Because, many acting classes, they are preparing you specifically to go out and audition, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be totally honest, I think unless you have like prior acting experience, just like starting with auditioning probably isn't the greatest idea, because you want to have a sense of like what you're doing with the script, like what the character is going through, so that when you audition, you are sort of showing the person auditioning you that you understand that character in a very natural way. So, yes, there are audition classes that exist, but I think just doing those without learning
your craft.
Right. I mean, personally, I think, it could be fun to try, but I wouldn't personally recommend that approach.
Yeah, I just think to myself, there's been some people that I've known that just on the strength of their appearance, go get themselves a headshot and kind of put themselves out there, and they figure they're just going to learn as they go.
Listen, there are people out there who have natural gifts, I heard one time that Jackie Gleason never took an acting class. I think that maybe I'm dating myself a little bit with that reference.
Yeah, his programs were in black and white.
Jackie Gleason. True. But the point is that there are those types of people. I think maybe this is upgrading us a little bit. Matthew McConaughey, I think, was another one that was like discovered.
Yeah.
And didn't necessarily, I think, take an acting class. I think maybe later he got more serious about his craft. But and so, and there are also mediums like television, like soap operas, where there's not this huge demand on like character study and the deep intricacies of the craft. So certainly people take a shot and do this, but I think in terms of like a longer journey, and it's better to like know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right, and you'll always kind of be brushing up on your skills and doing all of that throughout your career.
Yep. And
there's, just someone that I follow on Twitter and seen the Orange is the New Black, Laura Prepon.
Yep.
She's always in some type of class.
Yeah.
Right.
This is another dating. There's an actor named William Hurt who doesn't really act that much anymore, but he was a huge actor.
I remember him
back
for
in
sure.
the 90s. One year when I was studying acting in my Meisner training back in the 90s, there was like all the buzz because he, during one summer, in between films, decided he was going to take a summer Meisner training just to keep himself going. This was a guy that was already nominated for an Academy Award. So yeah, you can get out there and have some fun with it, and if you have some natural talent, you might get cast in something. But if you really want to try to make a go of this over the longer term, acting is a serious craft.
Sure.
It's a serious craft, and it's something, but I think it's also so much fun and so enjoyable. And as I said, like, this gentleman, Michael Boyle, that I was just mentioning, who has been in the classes for 10 years and is now performing on the Axial stage and is auditioning and now doing commercials, he's built a foundation of an understanding. And that foundation of the craft has made it even more fun for him. So knowing what you're doing, like, makes it really, really fun.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you've had so many success stories having done this for so long. You've had people that have gone on to do, like, would there be something that we know?
There was a Broadway show on last year called Hand to Mouth. I'm sorry, not Hand to Mouth. I got it wrong. Hand to God.
Okay.
I would say it's Hand to God. And it was basically a Broadway show that won awards about a young boy that created an alter ego as a puppet. One of my former students went on in the lead of the mother last year, and it was a huge thrill to go see her perform on Broadway. So that's one person. Her name is Pamela Bob, and then there's another gentleman named Lucas Papelius who was in the musical once, and which won Tony Awards.
Yeah, no, I wanted to see that so desperately, and I didn't get around to it.
Yep, great show. Great movie, too. Great movie.
Actually, I did see the movie. I did see
There
the
you
movie,
go.
so I did see the movie. Who's like your favorite actor?
Oh my God, putting me on the spot. I mean, you know, I would have to say that Sean Penn is one of my favorite actors. He's, you know, recently deceased, but of course Philip Seymour Hoffman was this amazing, incredible actor. Gary Oldman, who is in that incredible movie about Winston Churchill right now.
Darkest Hour?
Those have to be my 3 top actors. I mean, Philip is obviously, sadly, no longer with us, but...
Yeah, no, when you were saying that, and you said Sean Penn, and who's recently deceased, and I was thinking to myself, when the hell did Sean Penn die? I was like, but you weren't talking about him, God forbid.
Thank God, no.
Yeah, no.
But these are actors who, all 3 of them, who
are stellar.
Who not only stellar, but who devoted themselves to their crafts, like occupying, like becoming these characters. I mean, the thing about them, and the thing about what's so incredible about Gary Oldman in this Churchill is that he becomes Churchill. It's like and the thing about all these actors is that they're not just playing themselves. I mean, there are actors out there, I'm not going to mention who they are, who they sort of, it looks like they're playing the same character every single time. But these are guys who were committed to the craft and thereby learning how to transform themselves into these different types of people. If you put their roles alongside of each other, they might not even be recognizable to you.
Right, they're so vastly different.
And to me, so that's really, as a craftsperson,
Yeah.
that's really what I admire, somebody who can transform into these various characters and do things really, really, really well. I mean, Matthew McConaughey, coming back to him, he's somebody who took some time off and
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no problem.
But, you know, we've gotten the old cutoff thing
Okay,
over here on
sure,
the side.
sure,
And I just want to make sure that we give our audience a chance to get the information about how to reach you over there at the program, the acting program,
Sure.
and the Axial Theatre, and see all the things that you have coming up. So, and also, I guess if you have a different website, you know, to reach you for the directing and things like that.
So I think that, you know, the best and easiest ways to find out about the acting classes are hmacting.org. And all the information about upcoming classes are there, and all the information about me and the other teachers are there. Then for Axial Theatre, about the shows, Twisted Valentines is coming up in February, and we're also doing a version of Crimes of the Heart in the month of May. That's Axial, AXIAL, Theatre, with an RE at the end, .org. That's for the theater, and again, all information about upcoming shows are on that website. And then me, if you want to know more about me, more in depth, you can go to howardmeyer.info.
Wonderful.
That's my personal website.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. This has been great.
Really great to talk to you, Jackie. Thank you.
Okay, so to the Living Arts audience, I hope you enjoyed this. You know, anything, I think that whole program and what they're doing down there in Pleasantville is really terrific. So definitely check it out. Check out, you know, what Howard's up to down there. And definitely tune back in to see Living Arts and, you know, visit our Facebook page and check out previous shows on YouTube. Thank you. Peace.